Now, we will move to the next topic 4.2 applications of grad operator in vector fields. Now, grad operator out of all vector operators, the grad operator is the most important one. The grad operator is defined like this. You have all three unit vectors, and with each vector, like with the vector attached to the direction of x, you have partial over partial x. Similarly, with the vector y, I mean with the unit vector in the direction of y, you have partial over partial y. Similarly, you have here partial over partial z. Now, since this is a vector operator, you can operate this with either a scalar or a vector. With a scalar, say phi is a scalar, so you can simply take grad phi. With a vector, the multiplications are twofold. Either you can take the dot product or the cross product. Okay. If we take grad phi, this is the grad operator, you simply put phi there. Now, since these three are operators, this phi fall into these traps. So, you have I partial phi over partial x here. Here you have j partial phi over partial y. In the last term, k partial phi over partial z. So, that is how you find grad phi. It has a physical interpretation. We will get into this, get into the physical interpretation of grad phi later. Next, grad f, sorry, I am sorry, grad operator, we will operate this with a vector field, so that the operation is a dot product. So, this is your grad operator dot the vector field. Now, here you simply take the dot product. You know I dot I is 1, but I dot j and I dot k are zeros. Therefore, here you simply operate these two, therefore, it will be 1, and F1 falls into this trap here. So, you have da by F1 sorry partial F1 over partial x like this. Similarly, when you operate these two, j dot j is 1, this F2 falls here. So, you have partial F2 over partial y. In the third case, k dot k is 1, this F3 falls into this trap. So, you have partial F3 over partial z. Now, you can it can be noted that this is a scalar. So, this is a scalar. Finally, the most difficult one, grad operator cross a vector field f. There you have the cross product here. So, you have to get the cross product between these two. So, I j k comes in the first row of the 3 by 3 determinant. The components of I are these three. So, partial over partial x, partial over partial y, they go in the same order in the second row, and finally, these components of the vector falls here in the same order and in the third line, third row. So, you evaluate the determinant, you evaluate this vector, it is a vector. Now, we will see, we will look into the physical interpretation. So, the physical significance of these three. They play an important role in vector fields. We will see what they are. It is like now next part of the presentation has kind of a tree like structure. We take one after the other. We first take this one, grad phi. Then what happens when you take the dot product, sorry, when you take the dot product between this operator and a vector field, and finally, what happens when you take the cross product between these two, the grad operator together with a vector field, right. Now, we move to the next one. Here you can see there is a tree like structure. Here this kind of a comprehensive note, you have everything in it, all the minute details that you need to understand all the concepts associated with the vector fields. Now, look, first we will look at the top here. When you take this with a scalar, we call it as grad phi. Now, think about this one. You take something that we are familiar with, this unit charge, right, q, let it be positive, then it works as a source and the field lines emanates from it like this, and this is one of the equipotential surface, let the potential level be phi. You know that when you go towards the charge, phi increases, because in this case you know phi is q over 4 phi epsilon r. When r decreases, phi increases. R is the distance between these two. So, if you come closer or if you go opposite to the field line, phi increases. Grad phi, you know that we discussed this earlier. When phi is a surface or a function, grad phi gives you the maximum, gives you the direction along which you can increase it at the fastest rate. That is kind of the maximum slope, right. So, this is the direction that phi increases, and it is exactly, it has the same magnitude as this f, as this E, and at the same time they are opposite. Because of that, you can write this field or field strength as negative of this grad phi. This is very important, because once you know phi, you can figure out E, the field strength, and at the same time if you know the field strength, you can go figure out the potential function, right. However, in general, this for some electric field, in general for any vector field f, if the potential can be attached, otherwise you cannot do this. For example, can you remember in the previous video, we went through gravitational field, electric field as well as the magnetic field. In the case of gravitational and electric fields, you can attach a potential function. However, in the case of a magnetic field, you cannot do that. Likewise, certain vector fields can be attached with a potential function, but some cannot. Therefore, in this case, if the vector field f can be attached with a potential function, if it is possible, then you can write f as minus grad phi, where phi is the potential function. By simple calculus integration, you can, when f is given, you can find phi. When phi is given, straight away you can find f. We will see in the next video how we do that. All right. Now, we will move to the next one, divergence. Now, when we take the dot product, we call it as a divergence. There is a reason for that, right. There is a reason for that name. Here also there is a reason. Gradient means the slope. That is how you increase the potential function. That is a maximum gradient. It's like this. Maximum gradient is something like this. If you take some surface and put some drops of water, the water always takes the direction of the maximum slope. But there are so many slopes along which you can go down. But the maximum slope is the direction. If you put a water drop or few drops, the water takes a certain path. That is the direction of the maximum slope. of going down. This is the way of going up. But again, there are several directions. If you go in this way, still like if you go in this way, still you can increase the potential. However, if you take this path, that is the fastest way of increasing phi, right. Grad phi gives that direction. So, grad phi has that gradient comes from that idea. Now, again we will switch to this one, we will come back to this one. The divergence, the name divergence has some meaning to this. The physical interpretation of this go hand in hand with that word. We will see what it is. Now, grad phi, divergence or du f, we sometimes call it as du f. You take the first 3 letters of this word and shorten it. Du f is a scalar because this is a dot product. It has some value, some real value. So, you can either have a positive value, negative value or 0. A positive value means the field lines diverge like this, right, they go away. Oh, that means it works like a source. If du f is greater than 0, it means that the point works as a source. Similarly, if it is less than 0, the field lines converge, come to certain point. So, it is like this. In terms of an electric field, it is like a sink or it is like a negative charge. If it is equal to 0, means it is neither a source nor sink, it is none of them. Then what kind of a field can you expect? Here it is like a source, here it is like a sink, here like you can have this type of a pattern, like they can be parallel or they go like this, without actually converging to a point or diverging from a point. Or you can have these type of closed loops, right, these type of closed loops. So, this is called a solenoidal vector field, and there is a special name for this, like why do you call it as a solenoidal vector field? Let me explain you. In electrical engineering, there is something called a solenoid. Solenoid is something which is ubiquitously used, which is used very frequently in electric circuits. It is like this. So, you have that name because of this. Solenoid is something like a cylinder, right, on which you have like these coils are, a coil is attached to this. So, if the current passes like this, there is a magnetic field taking place in that object, right. If you go this way, it is like this, the magnetic field so you can see that there are closed loops, right. So, this is a solenoid. So, because of this, I think we have this name solenoidal vector field, where du f is equal to 0. So, if you want to check whether a given vector field is a solenoidal vector field, you simply find the value of, find this one. If the value is equal to 0, it is solenoidal. Just to check whether it is a source, you again find du f. If du f is greater than 0, that point works as a source. Okay. So, that is how it, that is the meaning of du f, right. You can interpret it in either way. Okay, now we will move to the last one. What happens if you take the, here I made a mistake, little mistake, this should be a vector. It's called curl F. You know curly hair has some kind of like rotation like thing. So, this has that same meaning. Now, curl F is a vector, right. Of course, it is a vector because it is a cross, it is a you get curl F as a result of a cross product. Since a cross product is a vector, you can have some vector. So, here the vector may be something which has a magnitude, or you can get a null vector. If you have some non-zero vector for curl F, that means there is a rotation. If you get 0 for this, that means there is no rotation. What does that mean? Okay. Rotation means this, you can have some closed loops like this. Think about taking current carrying conductor into this board, right, then you have rotation. And on the other hand, this curl F gives you the vector, or like you have, like this is a vector field, you have a rotation. If you take a screwdriver and rotate it in this direction, here in the clockwise direction, the head moves inside. So, that direction is given by curl F. Curl F, I mean in this case, if you find curl F, you get a vector in this direction, right, means that there is a rotation, and you know exactly the rotation, like it is this to this side, like it is a clockwise rotation according to this problem. Or you might get a vector like this, vector coming out of this board. That means, how do you take a screwdriver and how do you want to come out of the board? Then you have to rotate it in the anti-clockwise direction. That means, if you get curl F in this way, that means the rotation is anti-clockwise this way. And if curl F is 0, that means there is no rotation. So, either your vector field is something like this, or like a source, like a sink, one of those. And here for rotation, even this one, this rotation of this kind is also I mean if you have a rotation like this, it can be interpreted by curl F again. Curl F is non-zero here. So, for example, say du F is 0, but curl F is non-zero, then it is like this. Here curl F is non-zero, but in this case curl F is non-zero, du F is also non-zero here, right, not equal to 0. But in this case curl F is non-zero, but look here du F is 0. Okay. Now, if you have any of these, I mean some kind of a pattern in a vector field, we call it as a rotational vector field. It is like a magnetic field, you know, in magnetic field also you can have this type of a pattern. Can you remember in the I mean last time we discussed that in the case of a gravitational field you have a potential, in the case of an electric field you have a potential, but pertaining to a magnetic field you do not have a potential. Why? Because there is a rotation. Since because of that, I mean due to the same fact, if the vector field is rotational, a potential does not exist. You cannot find a potential function, or you cannot attach a potential function to a point. Why? This is the reason. You take a point, for example, here, right. Now, say you have a certain energy level. When you go this way, there is a work done by the vector field, because according to this arrow, there is a work done according to the vector field. Now, after coming back, you can come back to the same point. Now, you start with this with some energy level. Now, there is a work done by the vector field, and again you come to the same point. So, what is the energy level? Say earlier the energy level is 10 joules, for example. Now, there is a work done by the vector field. The work done is 5 joules. Now, what is the vector? What is the energy now? 15 or 10? Previous one or the current one? it's ambiguous. You don't know what the exact value is. Therefore, here you cannot attach a fixed energy level to a given point if there's a rotation. That's why when there's a rotation, you cannot attach a potential energy level in the vector field. Therefore, earlier we discussed about here, here we discussed about the potential function. However, I made this reservation there, but I didn't write it here. If you have a vector field, if the with potential function, because sometimes you have a vector field without a potential function, like the magnetic field. But here, if you have a potential function, you can write it like this. But if you don't have a potential function, that means if it is rotational, then you cannot write the vector field like this. Then you cannot, because there is no phi. This relationship does not go hand in hand. Like you can put any function, but you cannot get f. You get some inconsistent equations, right? Therefore, it's not possible. But so therefore, if there's a rotation, no potential exists. You cannot find a potential function. However, if there's no rotation, it's called the irrotational, means opposite of rotational. It's a irrotational vector field. That means curl f is 0. Once curl f is 0, you can find the potential function, right? And also in that event, you can, when f is given, you can find phi. You can for sure find phi. There's a way of doing it. Okay. Now, in the next video, we'll do some problems, especially pertaining to solenoidal vector fields and irrotational vector fields, as well as how we find a potential function once the vector field is given. So, this is extremely important. You know, this like you can take it like a tree, and there are 3 branches, and the second branch has again some branches, 3 branches. So, this has all possible applications of gradient operator in vector fields. Okay, right. Thank you very much.